Bob "Grumpy" Scheffing is best known as the New York Mets general manager who sent 4 players to the California Angels for Jim Fregosi in 1971. One of them had a career that played out kind of like this.
Strikeout number 4,000 for Nolan Ryan. Number 6. Nolan Ryan, his 300th career victory.
A decade prior, serving as the manager of the Detroit Tigers, Scheffing was interviewed while on a fellowship tour of Japan. When asked about a pitching phenom who had just carved up his club and had also just broken Walter Johnson's world strikeout record, Scheffing said, "I'll take him right now and put him in my starting rotation." Despite buzz on the subject in both countries, the player declined. Nolan Ryan surpassed him in 1987, and the two would become bonded for life as folk heroes in their respective homelands, as well as the collective 10,204 strikeouts over 10,913 innings pitched, good for 724 wins, 143 of those, exactly an NPB regular season, were shutouts. That had all slipped right through Bob Scheffing's fingers. Sorry, Grumpy. The son of 2 Korean immigrants, born Kim Kyung-hong on August 1, 1933 in Nagoya, Japan, his name was changed as an attempt to shield him from the discrimination Koreans faced in those days. Masaichi Kaneda became a naturalized citizen in 1959, 10 years into his professional baseball career. If that math seemed a little surprising, yes, Kaneda quit high school to play Japanese professional baseball at its highest level in his age 16 season. He debuted for the Kokutetsu Swallows, known in the current day as the Yakult Swallows, on August 23, 1950. The Swallows were a bit of a doormat in those days, consistently finishing in the bottom of the Central League standings. Kaneda displayed some inconsistency reflective of his team his first few years, struggling with control issues. He turned in a 22-21 record. You could definitely say he ended that season on a high note, pitching a no-hitter against the Osaka Tigers that September. The lanky lefty became renowned for his primary pitch, his big curveball, as well as his high-octane fastball, which he claimed was every bit of 100 miles per hour. But alas, radar guns hadn't been invented yet, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to dig up any footage of Kaneda timing his fastball against a motorcycle like Bob Feller did. His fastball stirred up a little controversy when players from the aforementioned Osaka Tigers complained to the umpire that the pitcher's mound must be too close to the batter's box, so he stopped play. Kaneda took a breather, and the umpire measured the length, which, to the dismay of the Tigers, was at regulation. Masaichi Kaneda was known for a quirky warm-up routine where he'd throw his first warm-up pitch from second base, and he'd successfully move in with each pitch until he was standing on the mound with the final one. So, was he the godfather of long toss training for pitchers? It's really hard to say, but it's interesting. He was also far ahead of his time in how he displayed on-field emotions, celebrating on his way off the mound. Remember, baseball is a highly regimented, militaristic engagement to this day in Japan. He also got into a few skirmishes over the years. Just seems like he played America's pastime a little more like an American than his contemporaries. He would meet the face of baseball head-on in 1955 when the New York Yankees toured Japan. Kaneda struck out Mickey Mantle 3 times in one game. History would repeat itself when Kaneda faced the legendary world career home run leader Sadaharu Oh in his professional debut, also dropping 3 Ks beside his name. On August 21, 1957, Masaichi Kaneda pitched a perfect game against the Chunichi Dragons, notably with a fever and a terrible stomach ache. He joked that he was just trying to get it over with as soon as possible, especially after an incident in the 9th inning where the Dragons manager protested a call in an obvious attempt to ice Kaneda. Fans caught on, including a few who rushed onto the field of play, targeting the manager. This resulted in a 45-minute stoppage as order was restored, proving that no amount of ice was a match for a man with a fever in the triple digits. Even on the weakest team in the Central League, Kaneda posted 14 straight 20-win seasons. Worth noting, he pitched every third day. That's a rubber arm. He won 3 Sawamura awards, which is the Japanese equivalent of the Cy Young. He also led the league in ERA 3 times. When this edition of Sports Illustrated was published in August of 1963, he had just become Japan's winningest pitcher of all time at age 31. Befitting that period of American baseball, he was touted as Japan's Warren Spahn. But I'd like to point out this was just a couple months before the conclusion of the season where Sandy Koufax would become the first unanimous Cy Young winner. And if I had to pick between the two, the left arm of God is probably the better comp for Kaneda than Warren Spahn. The Detroit Tigers were the first, but not only major league team to express interest in signing Kaneda following their 1962 Japan tour. Would love to have seen Kaline face off against this dude. Though he was flattered, Kaneda squashed years of speculation, saying, quote, "I've seen American baseball, and the emphasis is too much on the fastball. A pitcher throws his arm out in a relatively short time. Here we throw fewer fastballs, pitchers last longer. I think I can go on 10 more seasons. I'd like to match Cy Young's record, and in Japan I think I could do that. It would be a great honor to pitch in the American major leagues, but there's more to be gained here, and I feel I owe something to Japanese baseball as it has been so good to me." In a roundabout way, Kaneda predicted the tragic end to Sandy Koufax's career, well before baseball fans were ready to see him go. Another lefty, reliever Masanori Murakami, became the first Japanese player to play in Major League Baseball. He trotted out for the San Francisco Giants in 1964. The only footage of him is from the '65 Giants team film. Speaking of, is he striking out Koufax here? If it's him, why is he wearing number 30? Baseball Reference doesn't list a number 30 for that season on the Dodgers, so it's a mystery. Somebody clear that up. Murakami would return to Japan after 2 years, marking the beginning of a 30-year drought for Japanese players until trailblazer Hideo Nomo debuted. In 1965, Kaneda hit free agency and signed with the Yomiuri Giants. Though mainly coming out of the bullpen, he was given the honor of starting Game 1 of that year's Japan Series. It marked the first of the Giants' 9 consecutive Japan Series victories. He would appear in 4 more consecutive Game 1s. He started them all. His arm was starting to show the wear and tear of thousands of innings. He developed an underhand changeup that just has to be the most underrated eephus pitch out there. Kaneda saw sustained run support for the first time in his career, and record Tokyo crowds were there in droves to soak it in with him. There's just some sort of profound artistic feeling that lives in this footage that you can't find anywhere else. Here's a larger-than-life player with larger-than-life accolades playing in Japan's biggest market, the Giants. Befitting the scenario, the protagonist of the anime Tetsujin 28 Go, which was the first of many to feature a giant robot, was named after Kaneda. This story would be Americanized and repackaged as Gigantor stateside, becoming known then and forever as Japan's Emperor of Baseball. Masaichi Kaneda retired in 1969 following his 400th win. This seemed totally against his will, honestly. The Giants retired number 34 in 1970. At this time, Kaneda led Japan in nearly every pitching category. As mentioned earlier, this was reminiscent of the insane stats that our American number 34, Nolan Ryan, turned in after his Hall of Fame career that displayed longevity to match its dominance, often on struggling teams. Kaneda was an opening day starter 14 times. He holds the NPB record for complete games, innings pitched, wins, losses, strikeouts, and walks. He had 31 wins in 1958. He's second in shutouts, one behind Victor Starffin with 82. He led the league in strikeouts 10 times. He's hit the most home runs of any Japanese pitcher, 38 dingers. After retirement, he managed the Lotte Orions from 1973 to 1978. Given his history as a player, he didn't hesitate to lead an underdog, and they'd win the Japan Series in 1974. His younger brother Tomohiro pitched for the Orions. Actually, all 3 of his brothers played professional baseball. Masaichi Kaneda was inducted into the Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame in 1988. He passed away in 2019 at age 86. If you look at NPB today, it's this interesting dichotomy of fundamental baseball with a highly theatrical edge that thoroughly confuses us Americans. Kaneda was a little incongruous in a similar fashion, a vibrant, outspoken player who turned into a manager who stood against some of the very conventions of the game he'd once spearheaded. There was, of course, a constant: success.